Things are still going very well, but it's getting harder and harder to grind out results. Our passing is sloppy, we are not taking our chances very well, and most importantly for me, we are starting games extremely poorly. And I can't help thinking, what am I missing? Is it something that I'm doing or I'm not doing? Let's go and kick some balls. Hello and welcome back to The Road to Glory, Part 65, Season 7, here at Preston. And today we have got two very, very big games for you. We are away at Chelsea in the FA Cup quarter-final, possibly the biggest game that Preston have had in their recent history. And then we will be at home to Derby in the Championship, a game that I feel, given recent performances, that we really must win. But before we get into all that, if you are brand new to the channel and you like to see people playing this game and suffer, then why not? Subscribe, like, watch and comment, help the channel to grow and help us to support the very, very good stuff that you can see scrolling up above. And as you can see from the table here, we are currently still in 6th place. We are in the playoff spots. Absolute miracle that we are here, and our run of form just keeps going and going. Although recently it has been very, very difficult to maintain that form, and we have had to grind out results, and there have been a number of things going on. Our passing has been very, very sloppy. We are not taking chances, and we are having so many chances. And most importantly for me is that we are starting games extremely poorly, and that's, I think, a problem of my making, not the players. And today we're going to examine why I think I'm creating the problem and not the players. But first, let's go and find out exactly what's happened on the pitch since you were last here. And when you were last here, you did see that game against Ipswich Town, the game that we had to turn things around. We had to change our system. It wasn't working. When we changed the system, we went 4-1 up, and we did concede late on, but the game had been won by that stage. And then we followed that with an away trip to Luton, who were way down the table, and we only managed to come away with a 2-2 draw, having gone 2-0 down in the first half. Again, I had to make some drastic changes at half-time, but the changes I made worked in our favour, and we managed to claw ourselves back to 2-2. Then against Fleetwood, everything seemed to fall into place. We came out of the blocks in that game and we hammered Fleetwood by 6-0. So why was that game different to what happened at Luton? And thinking we were back on track, we then went away to Blackpool and we were very, very slow out of the blocks, and we were 1-0 down in the first 15 minutes, and it took us to the 89th minute, making change after change, trying to find the solution, and it was very late on that we found the way through, and we managed to just get a point away at rivals Blackpool. And so what that means in terms of the championship is that we are still in 6th. We have 65 points from 38 games, and we are 1 point ahead of Cardiff, but we do have a game in hand over Cardiff and Brentford, who are 3 points ahead of us, and if we can win that game in hand, we could easily slip into 5th on goal difference. The game in hand has become a very, very big game. I'd rather it be Brentford and Cardiff fighting it out than Preston and Cardiff fighting it out. And so I have to think about what has been going on in these fixtures that have become so very, very difficult, and things that are happening that perhaps I'm creating. Well, we'll just talk about it basically in terms of the game. Well, I think this is what the game does. After you finish the game against Fleetwood, the day after, it will give odds of you beating Blackpool. So at that point, my odds of beating Blackpool might have been 3-1. And so during the week that follows, I will have a period of preparation during which the things that I do will affect that probability one way or the other. and my probability could go down. In other words, it could become harder for me to win. It might go to evens as a result of the decisions that I make, or my probability could go up, making it much easier for me to beat the opposition. For the game to calculate those odds, what is it going to look at? Well, firstly, it's going to look at the strength of the two squads. Who's the better squad? Who is the most rested of those squads? And which team has the better morale? And secondly, it's going to look at the form of those two teams, and therefore who's more likely to win. Thirdly, it's going to look at the training that you do. Have you adapted your training in any way in order to focus on how the opposition perform? And then the game's going to consider, how are you setting up against the opposition? Have you actually changed anything at all? Have you become more attacking? Are you going into the game a little bit more defensively? What you're actually saying to the game is, I have a game plan. And then it will look at your team selection and who you've picked, and are those the most appropriate players for the upcoming game. And all those things will take place over the space of the week. By the time you get to a minute before kickoff, it will give you its final odds. It will roll the dice, and let's say it comes down, we are 3-1 favourites to beat Blackpool based on everything that I have done during that week. It will then roll a 4-sided dice. 3 of them will have Preston's name on it, and one side will have Blackpool's name on it. If it comes down on Preston's side, it will calculate a score for Preston. If it happens against the odds to come down on the Blackpool side, it will calculate a result for Blackpool. And that's how I think that the game manages to actually work itself throughout a season. And people do say it's scripted, but looking at my form since I took over, and specifically after the West Brom game, there is no way the computer actually scripted that. I think there's a lot more to it than that, and my input into the game week after week during this phase of play has contributed a huge amount to this run of form. I'm pretty sure if the computer was just churning out results, there'd be a lot more red dots in there. In fact, there is, since I've been at Preston, there is only one red dot. And I'm not sure that that's how the computer, if left alone, would have scripted it. So whatever work I put into during the week is reflected in the scoreline that you get at the final whistle. And at the final whistle, against Chelsea, it will then straight away calculate my odds for the next match against Derby, and I will go through the same weekly process. That's how I think the game works. But I also think that the game gives you 2 further opportunities. And firstly, that will be the changes that you make in-game itself. You can affect the game positively or negatively within the game itself. It gives you the opportunity to change the way you are playing and therefore affect the result at the end. As is, we saw what happened against Queen's Park Rangers, what happened against Luton Town coming back from behind, and what happened against Blackpool. The changes that I made, it decided warranted a draw. And the other way it will alter the game, the last chance that it's going to give you, is through the meetings that you have just prior to the game and during the game. And there are 3 meetings. One of them is the press conference, and the second one is your pre-match team talk, and I believe these 2 are linked. And then finally you have a half-time team talk. If you have done enough, it will allow you to win the game. If you haven't done enough, you will draw or lose. So what am I talking about? Press conferences? Am I really being serious? Because how many of you actually go to your press conferences? I know I don't. I send the assistant. But I always have a look at what actually he says in the press conferences, but how many statements are there in the email that you get that he makes? Every week, you only get 1 statement. And if you look at the press conference for the opposition manager, you only get 1 comment from him too. So I have this theory about the press conferences, and the reason that the game creators cannot change the questions despite people screaming at them, we don't go to press conferences, please change the questions, please, it's so boring. Despite all that, they do not change those questions year after year after year. And the reason why I believe they don't change them is that this is the psychological side of the game. And you get asked always about half a dozen questions. I believe 5 of them are red herrings and 1 of them becomes the key question. And if you send your assistant manager to the press conferences, the only answer you'll see is the key question. And so if you go to the press conference yourself, you're going to get asked 6 questions, but you don't know which one is the key question. Let's take the press conference that you're asked to go to when you make a new signing. Now, you make this new signing, he's a very, very good player, and you go to the press conference and you get asked that question, which might, in this case, happen to be the key question because there's something you've missed. You get that question, do you think that he's going to have an immediate effect and go straight into the first team? And you give the answer, yes, I'm very confident he's going to hit the ground running. He's a very good player and we have every confidence in him. And then you find for 3 months he's having a dreadful season and he's scoring around about an average of 6.4, 6.5. The reason that his form might be like that is the answer that you gave in that press conference, because maybe you didn't know that player, and had you gone through his report, you might have said in the red print that he has a problem adapting to new countries. If he has a problem and you know that because of your scout report, then why are you telling the press conference that he's going to be up and running and he's going to be straight in the first team and we're expecting a lot of him? You have suddenly put extra pressure on that boy, and the game has chosen these questions so that you have to know the game and you have to know your players and you have to give them the right answer. The right answer in that case might have been, we accept that there might be a little bit of bedding in to be done, but I'm pretty sure in the future he's going to be a great player. The player then knows that you understand what's going on for him, that he does have a problem and he is more likely to adapt because of your understanding than if you just say straight out, we expect him to be off and running straight away. And I think these questions are not changed year to year because they have a purpose. So I think that the pre-match press conference and the team talk that you give before the match have to match in some way. If they contradict, then you are going to start the game poorly. Let's just go and see what happened at the Blackpool meetings. So what my assistant, Steve McLaren, actually said in that press conference was, Preston's last meeting with Blackpool took place at Deepdale and finished 1-1. What do you make of your chances in this match? Now, this is one of 6 questions, and therefore I'm guessing it's the key question. That's why we're seeing it. And my assistant replies, I think we'll see more of the same between these two teams. It's always a hard fixture. And so what he's basically saying is, I guess it's going to be very, very close. It's going to be very, very difficult, and it's hard to separate these two teams. And that actually pleased Rob Nizet, who is an influential player, and what would have gone round the dressing room would be, relax boys, it's okay. Our managers think that this is going to be very, very close. We're not under huge pressure here. Now, when I took the team talk just before the game, what I said to them is, I want us to beat our rivals. So I contradicted what he'd actually said. He took the pressure off them, and 24 hours later, I put that pressure right back on them. And then that's what caused the slow start. In the press conferences for the game against Chelsea, McLaren was the one who went first, and he said, I'm always prepared to give us a chance. We can win, but we've got to play our best and then hope for a bit of luck. The question he was asked was, some people have labelled your team as potential giant killers against Chelsea. Are you confident of pulling off an upset? In a way, what he's actually saying is, I really believe in this team. And that's what I've got to get across to the boys in the pre-match team talk. I need to be on the same page as him. And that is, I think, how he should be approaching this team talk. And I don't know, I have done the work in terms of the tactic. We have changed things around quite a bit. And you will probably think I'm absolutely crazy when you think about what I have done here, because 3 of my top players are sitting on the bench, and Corbeanu is missing, and he is the man who is inspired form at the moment. Doty doesn't make it into the team, and Niandulu will come in for him. Jean-Jules has been dropped to the bench, and Nizet also has been dropped to the bench. Norton Cuffy has come in on the right wing, and Hughes will play at right back. And it probably looks to people like I've thrown the towel in and decided that we probably are going to lose to Chelsea and we're not interested in winning it. On the contrary, what I've done is dropped all the players who do not relish big matches. This is about as big a game as it can be. And by doing that, what's happened is that I do know that Chelsea are very, very strong down the left. Now I have 2 players on our right hand side who are fullbacks, who know how to defend. And I also have, luckily back from injury, our key midfielder, Whiteman at DLP, who is also able to cover this side of the pitch. And so anybody who is not a big game player is not up for selection. And this is one of the things that I think the game will do. It will take into account that I have taken out all the players who do not enjoy playing in big matches, and I have replaced them with players who relish big matches. Also, you'll see I've changed the role of the left wing, and Niandulu now will play as a wide target man. And that's because I want him to hold the ball up here. And the reason I want him to do that is because we have this inverted wing back who will be in and around here, as well as the box-to-box midfielder. And what I want Niandulu to do is to try and find those 2 players who will be looking to use the underlap. It's a game plan. I don't know if it's going to work, but it's certainly worth a try. We will tie down the right-hand side of the pitch where they are dangerous, and then we will try and exploit Reece James at right wing-back for them, who tends to wander and drift further up the field. And I'm just wondering if we can find space here on this left wing. Who knows? It's a game plan. I don't know if it's going to work. I think we are such a weaker opposition that Chelsea are going to get the better of us no matter what we do. I think it's time to go and kick some balls. And so, as a result of all my waffling, we are only going to be playing the Chelsea match today, and we'll return to the league stuff in the next episode. But at least it gave you an insight into how I had actually set up the team for today, that we do have a game plan, it's not haphazard, and also an insight into what I'm thinking about the point and the purpose of the press conferences and the team talks. It's something worth thinking about, and if we get off to a good start today, if I can actually match them up, and it does work, and we get off to a good start today, it will all have been worthwhile. Okay, so the team for today against Chelsea, in a game I really don't think that we have a great chance. The Chelsea manager, in his press conference, he said that they are giving us the greatest of respect, and he wasn't winding us up. He has picked a first team to play against us today. So the chances of me levelling the playing field this week are not very good. So in goal, it's Woodman, with Hughes, Digbareku, Lindsay and Hay at the back. Whiteman, McCann and Norton Cuffy make up the midfield, with Matate, Ndulu and Surridge up front. Surridge, who has been in magnificent form this season, and I hope that we can manage to sneak a goal and win it today. I very much doubt it, but you can but hope. And I think we need to have a think now about what we're going to say. We do know that the question was around the pundits who were saying, but the only one I've got here is ignore the recent praise we've been getting. They want us to fail, play without pressure, and have fun as always. I really don't want to say that. And everyone expects us to lose here, so prove them wrong. No, people are saying that we could have a chance here. And also this one is out of the question then. The pundits might not believe in us today, but the fans do, because the pundits are talking about us. And I think it really is. I think we need to show everyone that their recent praise is justified. Go and put out a real show out there, because what we're doing is we're tying in with what the assistant manager said in terms of we've always believed in you, and with a little bit of luck we can actually get it going. And we're everyone, meaning the media and the fans and everyone else, that their recent praise is justified. So I think we should say that one, and then we will tell the team, I have faith in you. That's what McLaren said. I trust you to make the difference. I trust you to make the difference. And that is exactly what McLaren said. And I'm going to go along with what McLaren said. And hopefully that will mean that we can get off to a nice start and that we don't concede in the first 5 minutes or so. And we have held out for 5 minutes. And we're doing fairly well. But I suspect that Chelsea are going to get the better of us without a shadow of a doubt. But the bad start that I predicted hasn't actually happened. Pedro Goncalves is probably the most problematic player that they have at the moment. A lot of the ball is going through him, but his passing isn't brilliant. So I don't need to really worry him about him too much at the moment. And the score after 20 minutes is 0-0. Is there something in what I was saying about the press conference and the team talk, and they have to actually match up in order for you to get off to a good start? It's something I've been thinking about, and it seems to be bearing fruit out here on the pitch, because after half an hour it's still Chelsea 0, Preston 0, and what we have done is closed them down on the left-hand side. They've actually only had 3 key passes in the entire game, and we've actually closed that left-hand side down very comfortably. But it is going to be Chelsea with the first highlight. It comes out and they are looking for space over the top. Can we win the ball? Yes, we can, but Chelsea are going to pick it up. They're probably fitter, stronger, faster than us. We're going to have to be absolutely playing out of our skins today to get anything out of this game. You just do our best. We actually have no chance in the match, and all we can do is do our best. Chelsea are in. They have scored. It's taken them 35 minutes, though, and I guess it was going to happen. But I think there is something in what I said. I think if you get the 2 conferences, the press conference and the team talk to match, you'll have a good start. We did have a good start, but Chelsea have just dominated the game. We didn't really close down Sterling. We can't close down Sterling, but somebody should have been tight marking him. He wasn't there. And unfortunately, Sterling has made it 1-0. And it is Chelsea again. And they do have a corner, and firing in the corner, and that's well punched clear by the goalkeeper. But Chelsea have another chance. They're going to get it into the box. It's very dangerous. We need to clear this up. Chelsea are in. They've scored. They've made it 2-0. The game plan is crumbling, and I think the game is probably over now. I'm looking at the players who are not playing well. Is Digbarekbu. Digbareku, of all people, is having the worst game out there. Hay is having a nightmare as well. My decision, perhaps, to drop my best players has not worked. I will need to do something about that. And in fact, Hay can come off now, and we'll bring Nizet on. He doesn't like big games, but he's going to have to cope with it. It's Chelsea 2, Preston 0. We have not embarrassed ourselves so far, but Chelsea are just way too strong for us. And here they come again. And where is my mouse? I need to confirm these changes. And there's the ball into the box. We need to get it clear. We have got it clear. Let's win the ball. We need to win the ball. Shall I tell the players to get stuck in? It's come over the top. They're going to score again. No, get it clear. And it has been cleared. And something is not right. Lindsay now is joining Digbareku on having a poor game. What I'm going to do, I think we are inviting pressure a little bit too much. And so I'm going to push the line up a little bit higher so that we can stop them taking those shots from near to the edge of the penalty area and maybe try and get back into the game that way. I'm not going to change the game plan. I think the game plan for 30 minutes worked. I'm certainly not going to tell them that they were terrible. I'm not going to say it was great. I'm not going to say we were unlucky. And I'm going to say maybe that was satisfactory, but we have the second half to improve. And they have been a little encouraged by that. But not a great deal. I'm looking at Lindsay, who's having an awful game, and maybe he does need to come off. Unfortunately, I've only got Craig Jones on the bench. I'm also looking at Nyandulu, who's not having the greatest of game, and Surridge is having a poor game. But we do have a free kick, and it's Whiteman over the free kick. He will need to come off around about the 65-70 minute mark. He's not fully fit yet. We do have a free kick, and Whiteman forces the save out of the goalkeeper. A brilliant save. And can we pick up a goal from a set piece when we need it? We are very good at set pieces. Let's get one back here, lads. Let's get back into this game. One of the centre-backs picking up the ball on. It's almost headed in, but Chelsea are going to bring it forward. We are in trouble. They are looking to break, but he is on his own, and Hughes has gone and taken him out of the game. It's a professional foul from Hughes, and I think we'll go and make some more changes. And so we have made a few changes. There were a number of players who are having really poor games at the back for us. After we started so well, it was such a shame to see it crumbling like that. Chelsea have absolutely dominated the game. They have been the better side. We are deservedly losing by 2-0. We only need to look at the match momentum to see that. And as the game has progressed, Conclaves has become a real threat. And so I've just asked the boys to tight mark him. We need to try and take him out of the game. There is no way through for us in terms of an attacking sense that I can actually see. We just need to defend now. Defend well. We have Digbareku, who's having an absolutely dreadful game. I think it's time to take off Whiteman now. So the game continues. I have to leave Whiteman on because I don't have any more substitutions left, apparently. The match is petering to an end. It's 82 minutes. It's still Chelsea 2, Preston 0. Can we get a consolation goal for the effort that we put in? It was a great performance by Preston, not only in this game against second in the Premier League Chelsea. They are second in the league, in the Premier League. We got to remember that. And it was a great performance. And unfortunately, though, they were just too good for us on the day. In terms of the cup overall, it was an excellent run. We got to the quarterfinals, and I'm going to say you did yourself proud today. It's all we could have hoped for. It's Chelsea 2, Preston 0. We have to get back to league business now, though. And in the other quarterfinal, we can see Southampton 0, Aston Villa 1. When I saw Chelsea coming out of the hat, I kind of felt that it wasn't going to be, that was the end of the line. But it was well done, and I can't fault the boys. And I hope that their heads don't drop as a result of that. There's no reason why that should happen. But our remarkable run has come to an end. We went from West Brom all the way down to Blackpool without being defeated, and only 4 draws in there as well. And Chelsea, second in the Premier League, have come and spoilt that. And as it was a very long intro before the game, I think we'll call it a day here for today, so that now from the next episode we'll focus entirely on how the league finishes up and our fight for a place in the playoffs. And I think we'll probably leave it until maybe around Bristol City and Stoke, and then that will set us up for maybe let's come back for Burnley and Bristol City, and then that'll set us up for the last 2 games of the season. I do suspect that by the time we get to Bristol City, we'll be very much in with a shout, and it will go down to the wire again. I've absolutely no doubt. Well, that's it for this episode. If you are new to the channel, then why not subscribe, like, watch and comment, help the channel to grow and help us to support that very good stuff you can see scrolling up above. I am not at all displeased with the performance today. For 35 minutes we were in that game, and I do also think that there is something in this theory that I have, that if the 2 parts of the equation match, then you'll get a good start to the game. That, I think, is part of the game that's to do with how you start matches. Don't know. I'm guessing at this point it'll be very hard to test it, but we'll keep an eye on it as the rest of the season unfolds. From a very, very contented manager, a manager who feels very proud of his team today and his team overall, we will bid you all farewell. We'll see you in the next episode.